Right, this is the October 13th Board of Selectmen meeting. In pursuant to Governor Baker's March 12th, 2020 order suspending certain provisions of the Open Meeting Law, General Law, Chapter 30A, Section 18, and the Governor's March 15th, 2020 order imposing strict limitations on the number of people that may gather in one place, this meeting of the Shrewsbury Board of Selectmen will be conducted via remote participation to the greatest extent possible. All meetings and hearings listed in the agenda will also be done so through remote participation. Specific information and the general guidelines for remote participation by members of the public and or parties with a right and or requirement to attend this meeting can be found on the town's website, shrewsburyma.gov/coronavirus. For this meeting, members of the public who wish to listen or watch the meeting may do so by visiting www.shrewsburymediaconnection.org. No in-person attendance of members of the public will be permitted, but every effort will be made to ensure that the public can adequately access the proceedings in real time via technological means. In the event we are unable to do so despite best efforts, we will post on the town's website an audio or video recording, transcript, or other comprehensive record of proceedings as soon as possible after the meeting. This meeting will not include public comment. To listen to this meeting, dial 1-747-248-7354 and enter the following PIN, 153-991-490#. Please mute your device. As a preliminary matter, this is Beth Cassavant, Chair. Please permit me to confirm that all members and persons anticipated on this meeting are present and can hear me. Members, when I call your name, please respond in the affirmative. John LeBeau.
Present.
John Samia.
Present.
Morris DiPaolo.
Present.
James Kane.
Present.
Staff, when I call your name, please respond in the affirmative. Kevin Mizikar.
Present.
Valerie Clemmy.
Present.
This open meeting of the Board of Selectmen is being conducted remotely, consistent with Governor Baker's executive order of March 12, 2020, due to the current state of emergency in the Commonwealth due to the COVID-19 virus. The order, which you can find posted with agenda materials for this meeting, allows public bodies to meet entirely remotely so long as reasonable public access is afforded, so that the public can follow along with the deliberations of the meeting. Ensuring public access does not ensure public participation unless such participation is required by law. For this meeting, the Board of Selectmen is convening by Google Meet as posted on the town's website. We are now turning to the first item on the agenda. Before we do, permit me to go over some ground rules for effective and clear conduct of our business and to ensure accurate meeting minutes. I will introduce each board member or staff member who has a lead role for the particular item or guest speaker associated with the item on the agenda. After they conclude their remarks, I will go down the line of members first and then to staff members, inviting each by name to provide comments or questions. I will then call upon members to offer a motion and then for a second. Please hold until your name is called. Please remember to mute or unmute your phone by pressing *6 or mute your computer when you are not speaking as to not trigger your camera feed or background noise. After members have spoken, I will afford public comment as follows. First, members of the public who wish to speak, and I don't think this meeting even has public participation, so I'm not going to need to do that. Finally, if members wish to engage in colloquy with other members, please do so through the chair, taking care to identify yourself. Finally, each vote taken in this meeting will be conducted by a roll call vote. So that brings us to item number 1, which is to approve the bills, the payrolls, and the warrants.
Move approval.
Second.
Okay. Other questions or discussions? Mr. LeBeau?
Aye.
Mr. Samia?
Aye.
Mr. DiPaolo?
Aye.
Mr. Kane?
Aye.
And myself, aye. Okay, item number 2 is to approve the minutes, but there aren't any, so we will move right on to item number 3, which is announcements and reports. I have one here regarding fall cleanup at the Mountain View Cemetery. It says that all plantings and decorations must be removed from flower beds and monuments by Sunday, October 25th, in order to facilitate the fall cleanup. Any items not removed by this date will be discarded the week of October 26th as part of the fall cleanup. American flags can remain until Veterans Day, November 11th. Any remaining will be removed during the weekend of November 14th. Winter decorations can be placed after November 15th. Sign up for Mountain View Cemetery listserv to get email reminders of cleanup notices at the town website. Do any other board members have any announcements this evening?
Nope.
if I'm not mistaken, I believe early voting starts this weekend on Saturday, right? And Mr. Mizikar, the town hall is open Saturday and Sunday, correct?
That is correct. Open 5 hours both days.
What are the hours? Is it,
I don't have it
you
off
know,
the
off the
top
top of your head? I don't either.
We'll post it on social media first thing tomorrow morning.
Okay, great. Thank you. So that brings us to item number 4, which is the town manager's report.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I just want to go through a series of economic development updates to share with the board and the community. I know times have been trying and we're always looking to ways to fortify the tax base to reduce the impact to residential taxpayers, and I'm happy to provide a couple updates to you this evening to that end. First and foremost, one of the most significant redevelopment projects in the town history, which is the redevelopment of the Edgemere Drive-In, which will be known as Edgemere Crossing. We've been holding a series of meetings and understand that the developer is ready to begin pulling building permits for the residential components of that development, and that the commercial development, including the market basket, will start in early calendar year 2021 and look to open in the spring of 22. So that project continues to move forward, which is a great economic development asset for the community. Within the Trader Joe's Plaza, the Midas building is being converted into the Verizon store, and FedEx is going to expand into the existing Verizon space. So a couple of moves there without any vacancy on the storefronts, which is good news. Within White City Plaza, Geico is going to open an office in the former Two Ovens restaurant space. And there's Five Below is going to be going into one of the other vacant tenant spaces there. So it's good to see that we're refilling some of those retail shops even during these challenging times, which shows strong demand in Shrewsbury. Within the Lakeway Commons business area, Rockland Bank and Trust is going to occupy the former Qdoba space. So that space has been vacant for a few months, but happy to see that being refilled. The former India store at 264 Boston Turnpike is being retrofitted into more of a butcher shop, meat market place. And then it's a little bit old news, but never brought it forward to the Board of Selectmen with you through a manager's report, that we're extremely happy to have Cytiva, which is the rebranded GE Healthcare Life Science, going into I believe it's 800 Boston Turnpike, right next to the auto dealers. It's a part of their worldwide expansion that includes roughly 200 additional jobs in the Commonwealth. It's 80,000 square foot of manufacturing, and they'll make bioreactor hardware, which is used by drug manufacturers to grow organisms. So we're really happy about the diversity of business interests continue to invest in the community, and again, bolster our tax base to help keep the significant part of the demand off of the residential property owners. And then just one final note, not economic development related, but the Veteran Service Agent, along with the Superintendent for Public Facilities, are working on plans for a virtual Veterans Day event, and we'll share those details with the board and with the community as soon as we have them. So just like Memorial Day, it's going to be more of a virtual event than an in-person event. Happy to take any questions on the manager's report. Otherwise, I can move into my COVID update.
That would be fine. You can move into the COVID update.
I'll share my screen. So from the time period of September 23rd, the day after your last meeting, until today's report, we're up to 450 positive cases, which is an increase of 58 from the last board meeting on September 22nd. Over that 21-day period, that's averaging 2.76 cases per day. Unfortunately, with that number of positive cases in that 3-week period, we've moved to the yellow status, the state's unified reporting system, which means that we have more than 4 incidents per 100,000 residents per day. We've now been yellow for 2 consecutive weeks, and tomorrow is the next reporting day through the state system. We are at 5.6 as of October 7th. Last Wednesday, we're at 5.62 daily incidents per 100,000. And we're also trending higher week over week as a percentage positivity of our test results. So that means that more than 1% of all the people that were tested are coming back positive. So we don't have any particular trends that we can share with the community as far as why this is happening. It seems to be, a statewide and a nationwide trend that there is community spread, and we just ask everyone to continue with their own proper personal hygiene, wearing masks at all times in public. Not only protect yourself, but protect others, washing your hands and taking all other precautions that you have been. Keeping the community only at yellow and not allowing us to get into red is, not only everyone's challenge, but it's really to everyone's advantage, because if we move into the red territory, then we have to make some significant considerations about both public and business operations throughout the community, and it's just something that we hope to be able to avoid. So we'll certainly look at the numbers as they come out with the state tomorrow. We do anticipate remaining yellow, but not moving to red. We'd need a significant number of more daily cases to get to red. Hopefully we don't see that and just stay at yellow and can see a trend to start moving down in the coming days. So we do continue to report out the town's stats every Thursday afternoon. If that needs to change, we'll let you know. Still no additional deaths, which we're very fortunate to only have had the 38 at the beginning of the outbreak. With regards to town buildings, as previously mentioned, the town hall will be open for early voting starting this Saturday and continuing through the 10-day cycle through the following Sunday for early voting. Voters are able to access the town hall through the main door. The foyer will be cordoned off, and you'll be directed to the right to register with the town clerk's office, into the old Selectmen's meeting room, and out the door next to the building inspector's department. There's also now a very colorful red, white, and blue, specially designated ballot drop box at the town hall. We acquired that for the sole purpose of collecting ballots for this election. And given the fact that we're mailing out over 11,000 mail-in ballots, if individuals just want to bring those to the town hall and put them in the slot, those are collected regularly 7 days a week. It's pretty easy. It's clearly marked. It's for Town of Shrewsbury ballots right on it. All other offices remain available to the public on a appointment only basis, but we're happy to take those appointments to service any one of your needs. And I previously reported on the 22nd that we were moving to have 100% town staff back on site. But given the fact that the community trend is moving in a contrary direction, we just have remained at up to 75% of staff in any building. We are there again to service your needs. If you need to make an appointment, please contact the department you wish to engage with, and we can set that up for you without a problem. That's the end of my report, and I'll stop sharing my screen.
Great, thank you. Any questions for Mr. Mizikar?
You.
All right, then we move on to new business. And item number 6 is to review and act to adopt the municipal website, www.shrewsburyma.gov, as the official method of posting meeting notices pursuant to 940 CMR 29.03. And I believe now that our public buildings that are supposed to be open 24 hours for people to be able to see our posted agendas are now closed to the public, this makes sense as a way to make sure that there's access to our agendas prior to meetings. Do you have anything else to add, Mr. Mizikar?
No, just a note, given the times, this is not related directly. This was available to us, but you are correct, since we do not have we're discouraging folks from coming into the lobby of the police department, which was our 24/7 building. This will just be both an operational efficiency and a necessity. Thank you.
Okay, I'll take a motion.
Move approval.
Second.
Okay, Mr. LeBeau,
Aye.
Mr. Samia,
Aye.
Mr. DiPaolo,
Aye.
Mr. Kane,
Aye.
myself, aye. Item number 7 is to review and act to designate all positions and members within the Diversity, Equity, and Inclusion Task Force as special municipal employees pursuant to Mass General Law 268A.
Move
This
approval.
is just, thank you.
Okay, sorry.
That's okay.
Second.
All right, any further discussion? Okay, Mr. LeBeau,
Aye.
Mr. Samia,
Aye.
Mr. DiPaolo,
Aye.
Mr. Kane,
Aye.
myself, aye. Item number 8 is to review and act to sign the warrant for the November 3rd, 2020 presidential and special town election.
Move we sign the warrant.
Second.
Any further discussion? Mr. LeBeau,
Aye.
Mr. Samia,
Aye.
Mr. DiPaolo,
Aye.
Mr. Kane,
Aye.
myself, aye. Item number 9 is to review and act to accept the deed for 274 North Quinsimmon Avenue to authorize the town manager to sign the acceptance of conveyance of real estate by deed record at the Registry of Deeds in Book 63099, page 158. I believe that this requires in-person signatures, and so it would just be a more streamlined process if Mr. Mizikar was the designated signer on this deed, rather than asking the 5 of us to find our way into a town hall that's by appointment only right now.
Madam Chairman, I move we accept the deed for 274 North Quinsimmon Ave and authorize the town manager to sign the acceptance of conveyance of real estate by deed that was recorded at the Registry of Deeds in the book and page you mentioned.
Second.
Okay, further discussion? Mr. LeBeau,
Aye.
Mr. Samia,
Aye.
Mr. DiPaolo,
Aye.
Mr. Kane,
Aye.
myself, aye. Item number 10 is to review and act on the streetlight request from Ashcock, Jakarti, 4 Nelson Point Road for a streetlight at the intersection of Lake Street and Nelson Point Road. And this item was first received as correspondence in early July prior to the annual town meeting, where the street in question, Nelson Point Road, was still not accepted as a public street and still under control of the subdivision owner. So the request was sent to engineering for review. And now that the street has been accepted through a vote at annual town meeting, I believe this request can now go to Selco for a determination regarding a streetlight. So unless there's any further discussion on the board, I would just take a motion for this.
Move we move it on to Selco for a recommendation.
Second.
Okay. So Mr. LeBeau,
Aye.
Mr. Samia,
Aye.
Mr. DiPaolo,
Aye.
Mr. Kane,
Aye.
and myself, aye. Item number 11 is to review and act to extend the expiration date of approved outdoor dining licenses from November 1st, 2020 to 60 days after the end of the state of emergency pursuant to COVID order number 50, and authorize the town manager's office to extend the licenses for establishments and amend the application process to reflect phase 3, step 1. And so you'll see on the agenda, we have listed here the restaurants in town that did apply for those special outdoor dining permits. We have Hooters at 378 Maple Avenue, Lakeside Bar and Grill at 97 Boston Turnpike, Jimmy's Tavern at 50 Boston Turnpike, Burton's Grill at 193 Boston Turnpike, Bollywood Grill at 97 Boston Turnpike, and Amici's and Willie's Steakhouse at 582 Main Street. So rather than have those establishments come back before the board to ask for the extension, it would just be easier to just grant it in one motion by this board and streamline the process for them.
Madam Chairman, I move approval.
Second.
Okay, motion is made and seconded. Mr. LeBeau,
Aye.
Mr. Samia,
Aye.
Mr. DiPaolo,
Aye.
Mr. Kane,
Aye.
and myself, aye. Item number 12 is to review and act on the town manager's appointment of Dave Champa, 28 Browning Road, to the Historical Commission to fill a vacant term set to expire on June 30th, 2023, pursuant to Mass General Law, Chapter 40, Section 8D. Mr. Mizikar, did you have anything you wanted to say about that? I know you have there's two here.
No, I'm just fortunate that we had 3 applicants for 2 positions, and look for the board's support in these 2 appointments to the Historical Commission.
Move we ratify the manager appointment of Dave Champa, 28 Browning Road. I don't think item 13 is before us yet.
No, not yet.
Okay.
Second.
Okay. So the motion has been made and seconded. Mr. LeBeau,
Aye.
Mr. Samia,
Aye.
Mr. DiPaolo,
Aye.
Mr. Kane,
Aye.
and myself, aye. Item number 13 is to review and act on the town manager's appointment of Melissa McKenna, 871 Main Street, to the Historical Commission to fill a vacant term set to expire on June 30th, 2021, pursuant to Mass General Law, Chapter 40, Section 8D.
Move we ratify the manager's appointment.
Second.
Okay. Further discussion? Mr. LeBeau,
Aye.
Mr. Samia,
Aye.
Mr. DiPaolo,
Aye.
Mr. Kane,
Aye.
myself, aye. Item number 14 is to review and act to appoint 1 member to the Zoning Board of Appeals to fill a vacant term set to expire on March 21st, 2021. We had 3 people apply for this vacancy. It will be to fill the remainder of Mr. Rosen's term. We have Patrick Fullen, who is currently an alternate on the Zoning Board of Appeals, 431 Oak Street, Lauren Straight, 210 Oak Street, and Gerald Sullivan, 25 Summer Street.
Madam Chair,
Mr. DiPaolo.
I think given that it's a short period of time on the term, that Patrick Fullen, who is the current alternate, should be appointed, as we usually have filled the positions, not exclusively, but usually from the alternates. And I've seen him in at least 1 meeting, and I thought he did a pretty good job. So if it's appropriate, I would make a motion to that effect.
Okay.
Second.
All right. Is there any further discussion from the board? Okay, there being none, we have a motion that's been made and seconded. So Mr. LeBeau,
Aye.
Mr. Samia,
Aye.
Mr. DiPaolo,
Aye.
Mr. Kane,
Aye.
myself, aye. So with Patrick Fullen being appointed, that would then leave a vacancy for an alternate. So Mr. Mizikar, would we be able to advertise for that vacancy?
Yep, we can get it out this week and hopefully be ready for your next meeting.
Thank you very much. Item number 15 is to review and act to provide comments to the Cannabis Control Commission regarding pending marijuana delivery licenses.
Madam Chairman, I will recuse myself to avoid a conflict of interest.
Very good, Mr. LeBeau. So this is something that was added to the agenda because of the time-sensitive nature of this. The Cannabis Control Commission voted on September 24th to release draft revised adult use delivery regulations for public comment, and the public comment period ends on October 15th. So I did ask the manager to draft a letter from this board to the Cannabis Control Commission, just stating that we would like, just state our opinion that we would like to have some input into this type of a delivery service, because it seems to circumvent our ability to have local control over the marijuana establishments in town. And it could also circumvent our ability to gain revenue from marijuana business in town. So there's a letter that was drafted and it's in the drive for board members to look at. It was added late today. But what it comes down to is wanting to have local control remain within our community, especially considering the amount of time effort and thought that went into the process of establishing the zoning bylaws and the criteria for host community agreements that we worked on prior to allowing marijuana facilities to set up shop here in Shrewsbury. Are there any comments or thoughts on the letter from other board members?
Madam Chairman,
Mr. Kane?
I think it's a great letter to the point, and thank you for bringing this up, and I'd move authorization for you to sign it.
Second.
Okay. There's no further discussion. Mr. Samia?
Aye.
Mr. DiPaolo?
Aye.
Mr. Kane?
Aye.
Myself, aye. And I would like to thank the manager and the assistant town manager for their quick work on getting this letter turned around for our meeting and our consideration this evening. I think it's extremely important that we're able to have our voices heard at the Cannabis Control Commission. So Mr. LeBeau, you can come back. We're done with that item.
Thank you, Madam
And
Chair.
we're going to move on to correspondence. Item number 16 is an email dated October 1st, 2020 from David Snowden, DPW Business Manager, regarding the town of Shrewsbury DPW launching their new citizens reporting tool powered by SeeClickFix, which we spoke about at a previous meeting, but this is just the press release. And for those who might not be aware, SeeClickFix allows people to download an app onto their phone. And then from there, you can do all sorts of things like access the town website and social media, access the recycling calendar, pay bills, go access the permit portal, and get the number to call for a missed pickup on trash or recycling. So I'm really glad to see that that's something that's being offered to residents. Item number 17 is an email dated October 1st, 2020 from David Snowden, DPW Business Manager, regarding the first notice for meter replacements. Item number 18 is an email dated October 5th, 2020 from Stan Ronziak, 562 South Street, regarding a new $42 million building. And I did just want to take a few minutes here to just pause and respond to this email from Mr. Tronziak. He's questioning the cost and the need for bringing forth the police station building project at this time. And I would just like to point out that the feasibility study that was completed determined that, Mr. Tronziak's asking about why we are making a new building rather than renovating this building. And it was the feasibility study that determined that an addition and a renovation would be costly and a poor use of taxpayer dollars. And I know that Mr. DiPaolo, who sits on the building committee, could speak to this as well. But from my understanding, there is a need to meet current code for essential service facilities, ADA and accessibility requirements that the current building under a renovation scenario would not be able to meet those standards. And so it would be an investment for a short-term repair rather than a long-term solution to the issues being faced by that building. Did you have anything else you wanted to add on the renovation or addition part of it, Mr. Mizikar or Mr. DiPaolo?
Well, yes, that building, the nature of the construction, primarily does not allow for the type of renovations that would be necessary. Low ceilings, concrete masonry bearing walls, which would be very expensive to change, which is why we didn't do it in 1997 or whatever that date was. The codes have changed dramatically, as you've said. Police stations have the highest, one of the highest requirements in the building code for the way it's built. And it just, the layout of the building, the way the equipment is in there and what they could do to change the mechanical systems and try to make the spaces more usable would just be cost prohibitive. So I had seen on a posting somewhere that somebody said that we actually didn't look at the possibility of a renovation ad. That's not correct. The architects had started working before the building committee was formed because we had to wait until the town meeting to do that. And they had already gone through the building assessments and made that determination along with the building department, public buildings, and the manager. And the board concurred with their conclusion that the most cost-effective way to proceed was to proceed with a new station.
Thank you. The other point that is made in this letter that I wanted to make sure was addressed was why would we move forward with a project now, given the economic uncertainty caused by COVID? We all know that projects do not get any less expensive the longer you wait to address them. We also know that we achieved very great success in going forward with the Sherwood Middle School building project in 2009 when we were in a recession. We really benefited from a favorable construction market that ended up saving millions of dollars for the taxpayers. Additionally, we currently are AAA bond rated as a community, which means that when Mr. Mizikar goes out to access the borrowing market, we will be looking at an interest rate of 1.9% or lower. And we certainly want to take advantage of that, as it also will save millions of dollars for the taxpayers. And this is also a project that includes a $5 million component that's for the public safety radio communication system. And that is a system that is used by police, fire, EMS, Selco, and the Department of Public Works to communicate on a daily basis, but also in emergency situations. And the system itself is so outdated that it's no longer supported by the manufacturer. And we are currently salvaging parts from broken components to keep the radio system working. Because basically they're trying to keep it going until there's an opportunity to go out and use a debt exclusion to have the funding to replace the system completely. And so now with the proposal for a new building, it makes sense to have that new infrastructure go into a new building. And that's going to be used by all of our public safety personnel. And it's a shared cost with Selco because they are also going to be contributing to the cost of that system. And so the building itself is not $42 million. It is $42 million less the $5 million required for the public safety radio communication system. And then the final point that I wanted to make sure that I addressed in the letter that we received is the $45 payment every year for open space. And I believe that that is a reference to the Community Preservation Act, which is question 4 on the November ballot. And that was brought forth by a citizen's petition by a citizens group within the community. And that the selectmen were very clear that we were not supportive of bringing the CPA forward to the community at this time. We believe that the police station and the radio communication system are of critical priority right now. And that is what we chose to bring forward to the voters of Shrewsbury. And so I think there is just a misunderstanding in the community that the Board of Selectmen is asking for, 2 different things at one time of the taxpayer, and that is not true. And I wanted to make sure that that's understood by the public. The one last thing that was brought up in the letter was what's coming off the debt service. And the library, as he asked, is not paid off, but the high school will be coming off the credit union land that was purchased to expand the library, and also just the way that we structure our debt so that we pay most at the beginning of a project and the debt declines as we move toward the end of a payment period, will also free up space in the debt service. So for all of those reasons, that's why the board decided to prioritize this project and bring it forward to the voters of Shrewsbury at this time. So if any other comments from the board members on this topic, and if not, I'll just move on to the next item, is an email dated October 5th, 2020 from Patricia Stakis, 320 Lake Street, regarding trailers on Lake Street. And she's just concerned about trailers on Lake Street because it is rather narrow. There is no restriction for trailers on Lake Street, but Mr. Mizikar is going to make sure that we're not seeing truck traffic that's related perhaps to the Beal construction project, and we'll just sort of monitor that and try to figure out exactly what's causing the truck traffic on Lake Street for her. Item number 20 is an email dated October 6, 2020 from Dale Shotsky of 64 Barnard Street regarding the ZBA vacancy. And item number 21 is an email dated October 7th, 2020 from State Representative Hannah Kane regarding the FY21 Economic Outlook hearing. And Representative Kane is a member of the Joint Committee on Ways and Means and let us know that overall FY21 tax revenues are expected to fall by $3.9 billion, which is a 12.5% drop from original benchmarks. The legislature and the Baker administration is committed to level funding of local aid in Chapter 70, and Representative Kane will continue to advocate for fully funding all education-related line items and COVID-related mandates. She anticipates budget talks to resume after the November election. So we are, as always, grateful to Representative Kane for her advocacy at the state level. That brings us to the end of this agenda, unless anyone has something else to come before the board in open session. Mr. LeBeau, you are muted.
Yeah, Madam Chairman, hearing none, I move we adjourn.
Second.
Okay, Mr. LeBeau,
Aye.
Mr. Samia,
Aye.
Mr. DiPaolo,
Aye.
Mr. Kane,
Hi, good evening.
myself, aye. This meeting is adjourned. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you.
Good evening. Thank
Good
you.
night.